On March 19, 1983, early in the morning, three seasoned cavers gathered at the edge of a remote hardwood forest in rural West Virginia. The air was cold enough that their breath hung in faint mist. The group included Kent Severs, who had been caving for nearly a decade, Mark Holloway, confident, careful, and David Rourke. They were not beginners. They had spent years exploring caves across West Virginia and Kentucky. It was expected to be a 10-hour round trip with no dedicated rescue access deeper inside. Each man wore a helmet fitted with a carbide lamp. The men carried extra carbide sealed in packs, as well as backup flashlights, rope harnesses, gloves, a length of static climbing rope, and metal hardware for rappelling and ascending. They approached the cave through a steep ravine, where a dark wedge of stone opened at the base of a moss-covered slope. Cold air pushed outward, signaling the cave's depth and stable temperatures within. They crouched low, switched on their lamps, and entered one by one, the daylight falling away behind them. Once inside, the temperature dropped to around 50 degrees to 10 degrees C. The walls glistened with moisture that echoed far beyond their light. The passages shifted quickly to narrow crawls where only a single person could pass. Mud coated the floor in uneven patches. They breathed in the mineral smell of stone and water. They rappelled down a 30-foot vertical shaft into a larger room where the ceiling rose out of sight. They advanced steadily, moving deeper and deeper still, clocking their progress by time and memory rather than markers. The deeper they went, the more the cave seemed to absorb sound. Voices stayed close. Light did not travel far, but they remained relaxed. This was familiar terrain. Moisture was everywhere on ropes, on rock, on their clothing. It coated every surface. None of them gave it much thought beyond standard caution. They had all caved in wet environments many times before. They began their return after several hours underground, retracing their route with practiced efficiency. Kent took the middle position of the line, Mark leading, David closing behind. As they reached a short, narrow corridor where they needed to reload their lamps, they paused. Their carbide fuel was running low, and they still had multiple rope climbs and squeezes before reaching daylight. They crouched together in a small crawl space that opened into a low-ceilinged chamber. The rock was close, the air still. Only their lamps provided both light and heat. Kent removed his pack, a tightly sealed ballistic nylon bag containing his spare carbide pellets. He had placed the carbide inside to keep moisture out, but moisture had already won. Inside the pack, condensation from the cave had slowly seeped through the container over the hours. The carbide had begun reacting inside the sealed space, producing acetylene gas without release. The bag had effectively become a pressurized gas container. Kent unzipped the pack. There was a soft hiss, a faint chemical smell, then instant ignition. The gas met the open flame of his lit carbide headlamp. A fireball exploded less than a foot from his face. A burst of white-orange light flooded the chamber. Kent screamed. His eyebrows burned away instantly. His eyelashes curled. Heat scorched skin across his forehead and cheeks. But the worst realization was immediate and overwhelming. He could not see. There was no light, no shape, no shadow, only blackness complete, suffocating blackness. Milliseconds stretched. His breathing turned fast, uneven, disoriented, terrified that the cave had somehow swallowed his vision forever. He nearly struck his head against the stone ceiling as panic overtook him. Mark moved fast. He grabbed Kent's shoulders, grounding him physically. The cave fell into a tight, heavy silence, broken only by short, frantic breaths. Kent kept whispering, then saying louder, "I can't see. I can't see anything. I can't see." There was no hope of outside rescue reaching them in time, not this deep, not through this terrain. They had no radio. The only option was self-rescue. Mark spoke slowly, deliberately, in the low, steady tone of someone who understood panic well. "Kent, you're with us. We're going to move together. One step at a time. Do not rush. We're getting out. Stay with my voice." They reorganized their formation. Mark took the lead, Kent in the middle, David behind, watching and supporting. Kent's world had become touch and sound. Every movement required guidance, clear, exact, patient instruction. At narrow crawls, David moved ahead, then paused and extended his boot backward. Kent placed his hand gently on the heel and used that point of contact to understand direction. The cave was no longer a space to move through, it was a maze of surfaces, angles, and uncertain openings that only touch could define. At vertical climbs, Mark described holds in precise detail. Left hand up 6 inches. Feel the ridge. Good. Right foot down and forward. There's a ledge. Yes. Breathe. Slow. Every ascent felt endless. Every slip or hesitation caused the cave to feel smaller. The cave was silent except for their breathing, the occasional scrape of fabric against limestone, and the slow, soft drip of water. What normally took minutes now took 20, sometimes 30. Kent's face burned. His eyes throbbed painfully as swelling increased. But he continued, step by step, reach, hold, breathe, move, hold again. Hours passed. Their progress was agonizingly slow, but never stopped. Finally, faint drafts of cool outside air became noticeable. The walls widened. The darkness felt less suffocating not because it was lighter, but because space returned. They neared the entrance, and then daylight. Even Kent, blind, felt it as warmth on his skin. They emerged into the forest clearing just before dusk. Kent was transported for medical treatment immediately. The burns were painful, but not deep. His eyelids were swollen shut, his corneas injured by the flash. In the first days, doctors could not promise recovery, but slowly over the next several weeks, his vision returned. First as vague shapes, then outlines, then full clarity. He made a complete recovery. The incident became one of the most referenced cautionary stories among cavers who used carbide lamps. The lesson was simple and unforgettable. Underground. Mistakes are quiet until they aren't. And when danger arrives, it arrives fast.